You might as well just tell every terrorist who's going to attack a school that they don't have to worry because the kids aren't going to be calling 911 while they're getting shot at. So don't worry about that. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit because I need to address something because you all know me, right? You know me, don't you? And you know that I'm the man. When everybody is all freaking out and the Make America Great Again world and Trump world and casting doubts on whether Trump is lying and what's going on here. What are they hiding? And you feel maybe betrayed by President Trump somehow because you're like, well, I've trusted him and now suddenly the big thing that we're looking for isn't happening and people want Pam Bondi fired and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they've all turned on us. How could they have done this to us? Tucker Carlson is like, it's gonna ruin President Trump's legacy. Yeah. Oh, it's been a great past week, and now it's all ruined because we don't have the Epstein client list. They're hiding it from us. Well, let me just have you ask yourself a few pertinent questions about this kind of thing. Has President Trump ever been wrong about anything? Even when you thought maybe he was going to be wrong about something, I think it all began with, hey, I'm being wiretapped. Remember that? Oh, really? Come on. There's no way. And damn, everything just turned out to be totally and completely true. But again, ask yourself, has President Trump ever lied to you about anything? I mean, everybody else is lying to you. But has President Trump really ever lied to you about anything? And have you always kind of wondered whether or not he might be playing another game of 3D chess? Because that's what he does. It's really kind of frustrating to a certain degree. Because we're always trying to figure it out. And I have to tell you, people in our world sometimes, not you guys, but people in 101 straight up says Trump was wrong about bump stocks. Okay, I'll give you that. Touche, buddy. I got you. I got you, man. But a lot of people in our environment, like all the commentators in conservative circles and stuff like that, they jump ship so fast on everything. He bombs Iran. Oh, this is it. This is a betrayal. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, come on, people. Relax a little bit. Just trust daddy. I'm not kidding you, though. Because here's what you have to ask yourself. You remember, we played it ad nauseum, but I'm going to play you something in the very beginning of what eventually was President Trump's very uncharacteristic tirade about Epstein and then Pam Bondi. But if you break it all down a little bit, are you getting the impression that these guys are playing somebody? Because it's so uncharacteristic. It was almost like we were watching like a theater play or something. President Trump with this very unnatural type of, oh, how dare you bring up Epstein again when all this wonderful things are happening. He's a has-been. Nobody cares about him. And you're thinking, that's weird. And then Pam Bondi, you saw what she did, right? She was like, oh, I declare all it was a bunch of porn movies that nasty man Jeffrey Epstein had. That's all it was. And you're thinking, no. She's not being real right there. They're playing to somebody. I just don't know who it is. Because, come on, Pam Bondi had that thing. That was did you hear her tone of voice in that and everything else? That nasty man, Jeff Epstein, had those child porn movies. We shall not be showing them. Like, okay, girl, that's good. That was very good. What are you, from Gone with the Wind all of a sudden? And President Trump, but you have to understand, see, we who know President Trump so well, Like, we pick up when things are wrong. It's kind of like when, well, I don't know, not always when you're married, but you know what I mean. When you're close to somebody and something's not right, they're behaving very uncharacteristically. We know Trump so well that whole acting job really kind of threw us a little bit. We're like, really? Because he doesn't ever talk like that. I mean, every once in a while, the CNN reporter will say something stupid and he'll go right down their throat on something, but he never really talks like that. So here's the situation. I think this is probably what it is. And I'm not being Pollyannish. You know what? I don't know how many times I've come out here, try to ease everybody up. We do a little yoga, do a little cocktail. I don't know whether you drink when you're doing yoga, but I would. Anyway, be kind of like two different things kind of going in that direction. They'd clash, I think. Having a martini and doing yoga, that'd be crazy. But I think what's happening here is, I think it's pretty clear that Epstein, first of all, that whole story's weird anyway. Epstein was very likely a government asset and used by the CIA to collect data to blackmail politicians and powerful people. And I believe that ultimately, and I don't know whether he committed suicide or not, but I do believe that he was useful. I believe that they have useful information. And I believe that eventually we're going to find out what that useful information is. And there'll be an explanation as to why we had to put up with all this theatrical stuff from President Trump. And I mean, even Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, it's like, yeah, there's nothing to see here at all. I mean, Bongino, really? And so at that point, they're hiding something. And I don't care. I'll wait because they're hiding something, but it's for our own good. They're not hiding like the fact that President Trump was there or whatever. They're not hiding anything that's going to hurt us. They're hiding things that are probably in the end going to hurt a lot of other people, and they want to wait. They want to wait. Now, I could be wrong. I always say that. I might be wrong because I don't know. But I do know this is far, far too unusual. And all you have to do is think about what makes common sense. I guess President Trump, would he really hide something from us and lie to us? Or would he hide something from them and lie to them? And that's what I think is going on. Pam Bondi. Why I declare I've never seen such dastardly child porn in my life from that evil, nasty Jeffrey Epstein. I'll never show you. Like, girl, that's way too dramatic for you right now. So they're all just like, I mean, it really is kind of funny. And I think we're going to laugh about this down the line. But relax, gee whiz. I mean, all these people are taking it personally. Like, Trump has betrayed me. I'm like, oh, shut up. Stop clutching your pearls over the whole thing. Plus, it's not about you anyway. Well, how dare he do this to me? I'm like, what are you talking about? Think of all the great things he's done for you, too, And this is not the point. President Trump's not going to burn his bridges and waste all his capital on some dead sex fiend. It's just not going to happen that way. It's going to be pretty big. That's all I'm saying. So take a deep breath. Everything's going to be okay. What is being hidden, and we're pretty sure it's being hidden, is being hidden because it's going to be really fun when we open the box. It's going to be great. You have to wait. Just wait. There is a Santa Claus and there is an Easter Bunny. Just so you know. There's no such thing as Trump betraying the Make America Great Again nation or his people. There's not a chance in heck that would happen. I do want to take you back, though, to that news conference time because you'll be able, this music is nice. Maybe I should just carry this on throughout the whole time. It's kind of like, you've ever seen a video, and it's really on the internet, it's on Facebook, I've seen it before, where these guys are announcing baseball, but they're doing it like they're golf announcers. Well, and here comes the pitch. Oh, it's just a bit outside. Oh, there's a line drive right out to right field. Looks like he's going to go ahead and catch it. And the other guy's going to run down third base and everything's going to be fine. See, and it was like you're watching and you're like suddenly, wow, I'm watching baseball in a completely different light. So maybe this is the way to do it. So anyway, I want to go back, though, to that news conference. And do you remember? I know we know what the response of President Trump was, but did you pay attention to the question that was asked that triggered the responses from President Trump and from Pam Bondi? Did you hear the question? Well, on the other side of this, I'm going to play you the question again. And if you listen to the question, you'll realize that maybe I am right about my supposition that Epstein was absolutely a government asset, collected a ton of email on powerful politicians and people, and that is the info that is currently not being released right now and will have to be released at a time when it is most valuable, you see. All right. All of that for you on the other side of this, and also this ridiculous, stupid move by Republicans and Democrats and Governor Kehoe banning cell phones in K through 12 classrooms. I mean, this is the dopiest thing, but a reminder, beware of the do-gooders. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL 101.9 and 94.1. Happy Thursday.
And then the media.
101.9 and 94.1.
They lying about what's going on in America. They lying about it.
News Talk STL.
Hey, I just talked to Rick. He's kind of vacationing in Branson, but I will tell you that we are going to have a ton of fun this weekend at the Hideout right there in High Ridge. And I will tell you that the Hideout is really only 10 minutes south of Gravois and 270. Really super easy to get to. It's right down Gravois, Little Brennan Road, and boom, you're there. And there's music, and there's cold beer and great drinks and fabulous food. And I got to tell you, Rick and Jake and the gang, they've done such a great job. And the Hideout's such a fun place. It's like a fun Jeffco place, but if you're in St. Charles County or St. Louis County, it's really super easy to get to. And right across the street, basically, right across Gravois there is the Hideout at Sugar Creek. This is number 2 Hideout at Sugar Creek. So we Hideout number 2. And that is where you go into the clubhouse, and it's basically like a mini hideout. And you can get everything, all the food, all the appetizers, all the great things. They have this gigantic, great hot dog. It's called a golf hot dog, for lack of a better term. And you can have that delivered to you on the 5th hole if you want to. So anyway, Hideout 1, Hideout 2, just an awesome place. Check it out right there on Facebook. And they have a whole list of things that are coming up and everything else. Just search the Hideout, and you've got a great plan for a wonderful weekend at the Hideout.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Oh, I pity the people out there who are sitting at a stoplight right about now, maybe heading to lunch and then falling asleep. Yeah, because they didn't get a good night's sleep. They thought they did. They woke up 7 in the morning, went to bed at 10. Everything's fine. You're thinking, well, I got 8 hours of sleep. What the heck is going on here? Well, it's because you've been snoring, or you kept waking up because your leg would move involuntarily. Or maybe you were sleeping next to a snorer, somebody with sleep apnea, and they're keeping you up all night. The bottom line is not healthy any way you go. And Dr. Joe Ogile with the Clayton Sleep Institute is here to help you resolve all those things. Insomnia, restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea, all those kinds of things. And you can have stuff that he'll give you, you can take home with you to use, or you can go to the sleep clinic and have them not only monitor you and analyze what's going on with you, but also then treat you as well. And I'm telling you what, sleep, good sleep and a nice sleep, full sleep, always gives you so much energy. And by the way, a lot of people who aren't getting adequate sleep also wind up getting fat. You know why? Because it slows your metabolism down. You don't have that energy there, and your body's like, dude or lady, you're starving me out because you're not getting a lot of sleep. You're slowing me down, and so I'm just going to store whatever you eat right in your stomach. That's how it's going to go. So Clayton Sleep Institute, there for you. ClaytonSleep.com. That's ClaytonSleep.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion.
The stars are blazing like rebel diamonds cut out of the sun.
Good evening, everyone, and afternoon, depending on where you are at. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. A 3-martini lunch. We got those suspensions over the attempted assassination, which is 6 agents suspended for 10 to 42 days unpaid. I'm trying to figure out, like, what? Like, as a Secret Service agent, what do you have to do to get fired? And what do you do when you get suspended? So when you're suspended for 42 days unpaid, what's that all about? Like, I'm wondering what the ceiling is for incompetence. Like, if they're going to suspend you unpaid for 42 days, what did you do? And that's really what we want to know, because it doesn't seem very adequate to me. I mean, suspending somebody who's just kind of doing this and doing that, I get it. But when you are suspending somebody whose task was to protect the president, how is that even plausible? Because, like, if you're a pilot and you're doing the wrong thing flying an airplane with 250 people on it, do they suspend you when you don't put the flaps up properly, or you did something that could have crashed the airplane? Or do they fire you? You know, I'm not a huge firing guy, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, man, you're a pretty lucky duck if you're a Secret Service agent who was involved in protecting the president on the day where he was shot, and you get suspended for 42 days because of your lack of ability, you're one lucky dude. The Secret Service apparently has a ton of patience for this kind of stuff. All right, as promised, let's go back to this news conference, and I want you to listen to the question that triggered the theatrics, which I believe they were, from President Trump and Pam Bondi. And within that question, that is where we're starting to get this idea that there might be a whole lot more to this. And President Trump isn't lying to us, but he might be lying to some other people. And those people deserve to be lied to and put in suspense, and probably will get what's coming to them. But anyway, in the meantime, we've got to, President Trump has to put on this face that somehow, this is a nothing to see here moment. But I think it is. I think they've seen it, and it's something they're holding on to. But listen to the question here. Come on, baby. Give me some power. Well, anyway, my computer's not working. But if you listen to the question that was put to them to begin with, it was all about Epstein's possible links to an intelligence operation and intelligence operations throughout the world. And here, let me see if I could do this again.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency.
So I think what a lot of people did was they listened to President Trump's response and Pam Bondi's Gone with the Wind moment, Oh, it was all just child porn from the awful Jeffrey Epstein. And didn't listen to the actual question. And sitting inside of that question is a positing by the reporter that Epstein may have been a government asset or working with intelligence agencies with what would probably be the primary goal of blackmailing politicians. Now, I want to hearken you back to like 3 years ago. And I had Judge Napolitano on, and I'll get him on maybe tomorrow to reiterate this. But he told us very specifically, he said it's an absolute fact that the deep state, the CIA, and the FBI routinely collects intelligence on members of Congress. And they got so much dirt on these people after them serving a certain amount of time that they've got people over a barrel, which might explain some odd behavior, by the way, among some of our politicians. Like, why would they do that? Oh, I got you. Because if they didn't, they'd be exposed. So, and this is not a conspiracy theory. I mean, Judge Napolitano isn't a conspiracy theorist anyway. Carafano even kind of insinuated some of that, at least on the foreign level here. So what's interesting is we all took the Trump reaction and the Bondi reaction and kind of glossed over the question that kind of drove both of them supposedly nuts.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape?
Yeah, so and this is the problem. Reporters routinely make this mistake. And anybody who as like an investigator in law enforcement and everything else, You ask one question and have them answer one question. And he made a rookie mistake by adding one more question to his question, which is about the missing video, which allowed President Trump and Bondi to only react to that, the missing minute and everything else. And so, man, I mean, my goodness, you're like a White House correspondent, dude. And you don't have like the basic skills in journalism to stop when you should stop instead of asking another question that allows them to answer the last question you asked, but not the first one. Such a dumb error, but it does happen. So, and by the way, what's for dinner? It's like, yeah, well, what do you think they're going to do when they're given two questions to answer? They're going to gloss over the one that probably had the most meat to it because this guy drained all the blood out of the first question that had so much to it with his dumb little second question about the missing video. I'll play it again for you.
Agency, the former labor secretary who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also
stop there. Can you resolve whether or not he did? Instead, Skippy ruins it.
So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, and also, where did you get that tie, President Trump? It's like, and this is where this whole, and you'll see Bondi is going to talk about. Yeah, so this is where then Trump comes in and so and what happened is the question about Epstein's link to intelligence agencies was actually never answered, which was the skill of President Trump and, for that matter, Bondi, because President Trump then created a distraction and went supposedly crazy, even though I think it was, again, very unnatural of him and clearly something that was a performative type of response. But he distracted the entire thing by his supposed tirade. And then Bondi answered the question about the client list and changed the subject about our interview with John Roberts. These people are masters, I got to tell you. And they're so good at tricking and manipulating dumb people. And so in the end, that question about Epstein's link to intelligence agencies was actually never answered. Good job, President Trump and Bondi. It was great. And the other thing is they responded so melodramatically. Like President Trump responded like, "Oh, how dare you bring it up?" And Bondi was like, "Oh, it was all child porn from that nested Jeffrey Epstein." And so everybody like zeroed in on that. And that made the news, and that became the thing. And people in our world were all like, "Yeah, it's very evasive, very this." And nobody paid attention to that question. And I believe it was completely and totally all put together and staged to drown out that question, distract from it, and have that question about Epstein's links to intelligence operations completely unanswered. You get what I'm saying here? And because President Trump and Pam Bondi didn't want to talk about Epstein's link to intelligence or those kinds of things, because I believe they'd have to lie to us about it. And they didn't want to have to do that, so they created a big distraction so that the cops would all go this way while the people who are really doing work are going that way. It was really a good move, and I guarantee you that was all purposeful. And so that answers your question as to the melodramatics of President Trump and of Pam Bondi. All you have to do is go back to the original question about Epstein's link to intelligence agencies, and you'll see why both of them erupted in what I consider to be a planned move to distract from that question about his intelligence. Because even a couple senators are insinuating that Epstein was a government asset. And there's a CIA whistleblower, by the way, who is on the record as saying that intelligence agencies gather blackmail on politicians without even suspecting them of doing it.
I had a trainer, one of my operational trainers, who told us when we were going through the process that the best recruitment he ever made was a copy machine repairman. And I laughed when he said it. And he said, no, I'm serious. Hear me out. He said, all of us want to recruit the prime minister. We're not going to recruit the prime minister. We're not even going to have access to the prime minister. But the prime minister's got a copy machine in his office. And every once in a while, that machine is going to need to be cleaned and serviced. So you recruit the copy machine repairman.
Yeah. You get what I'm saying here? So if you want access to the behavior of some of these sick politicians like Bill Clinton or other people out there, or Bill Gates or what have you, you go to the person who they see all the time, or they know, or maybe want to know, or will be attracted to when that person who is giving them certain things that they want, but they don't want anybody to know. And so I'm not saying that they did this. I'm saying that it is a tactic of the CIA and intelligence agencies to recruit assets that will get them closer to certain people where otherwise they couldn't get to those people. And that's where this copy machine analogy comes from. So this story isn't over. I just don't think it's a story that a lot of people you're listening to or a lot of people you're reading or whatever believe it is. It's not a story of Trump MAGA betrayal. It's not a story of covering up for somebody on the list. It's a story for the midterm elections or maybe a little bit before that. I don't know. But again, I've been wrong before. I'm not trying to be Pollyannish about it or anything like that. But you've got to just simply put your common sense hat on and look at how, first of all, how surprised you'd be if President Trump betrayed you. And the reason why you'd be surprised is because you don't believe he would. So why do you believe he's doing that now? That's all. Pam Bondi, these guys. The reason why you're so upset about all this is because you can't believe they would betray you. Well, how about keeping with that feeling, you can't believe they would betray you, and try to consider other answers that might not have been considered. And that's why I wanted to do that for you on the show here, people. Can you read my mind? Yes, indeed. All right, people, coming up, I can't beware of the do-gooders. This cell phone ban in K through 12 is the dumbest thing that I've seen in a long time. And I'm sure all the politicians think that they've done something good for parents and teachers who apparently want the government to do their parent and teaching for them and disciplining. Unbelievable. I'll have that for you on the other side here. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Newsteaders, fine jewelry. I love these guys. Just was talking to Richard the other day on the phone. I think I'm going to have Richard in because I want him to tell you the story of the lab-grown diamond, which is a really great diamond. And I always say this because it's important for you to know. A lab-grown diamond isn't a fake diamond any more than the flowers that you buy in the Schnucks floral shop are fake flowers. They're just grown in more controlled settings. And sometimes those more controlled settings also give you a more controlled diamond, a diamond that isn't necessarily rough, a diamond that even looks better than a mined diamond, whatever. But it's all the rage, really. Some people just don't like mined diamonds anyway because of the process. And so they choose the lab-grown diamonds, and they have them just by the bundle there at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. And all you have to do is walk on in, says God is welcome here above the door, because these people, Richard and Diana and the rest of the crew there, Jackie and Cindy, they and Anna, they all really truly believe in what you believe about this great country and about our great God. And that also translates to a real dedication to authenticity, to great customer service. And that's what Newstetter's Fine Jewelry is all about. If not the diamonds, they've got plenty of gold for you. Gold's back in. They've got for the guys the Frank Sinatra bull of a watch, which I am wearing as we speak. Everybody always compliments it. It's really cool, groovy, vintage looking watch. So check it out right there. WowDiamonds.com. That's WowDiamonds.com.
Tired of the same old pizza chains? Boring. Want a delicious alternative? Look no further. Woodson Stonefire has you covered, offering a delicious, mouth-watering alternative with a wide menu that surely offers something for everyone's taste. Our pizza will have you saying wow. Family-owned and operated, in addition to being locally owned. Pizza is truly our passion. Woodson Stonefire, 3120 West Clay in St. Charles. Call 636-493-0532 to place your order now.
Hey, Chris Cooper here, and this week on Serene Wealth Now Radio, we've got very special guest, News Talk STL's very own Jeff Allen joins us in the studio. We're going to talk a little bit about what makes News Talk STL so successful in serving the St. Louis community and what's going on in the local radio scene. So tune in right here, News Talk STL, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., and always on SereneWealthNow.com and social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Let me tell you something about Hanson's Tree Service, hansonstree.com. Oh, boy, they have been busy lately because not just because of the storms, but because Hanson's Tree Service is the trusted brand in all things trees. So when it comes to making sure that your trees are healthy, and trees do need a level of care, you know, and some of that involves deadwooding and pruning and things like that are very, very important. And Hanson's Tree Service is great. Tree takedowns, so you don't have another storm, another tree just coming down on your property or people. Go ahead and get that done. And you might think, well, those are expensive. Not at Hanson's Tree Service, but even if it is an outlay that you're really necessarily not prepared to do right off the bat, then they can have a financing plan for you and get the job done that way with Hanson's Tree Service. Chad Hanson is really just living the dream that was unfortunately tragically left behind by his dad, Jeff, and his death a while back. But Chad has maintained the loveliness that Jeff put into Hanson's Tree Service, and they have this beautiful mulching for you as well, all varieties, all colors, all things like that. And hey, you also have this magic bean, which is a composting mixture that will grow your plants and shrubs and everything else in ways that you have never possibly imagined. Hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Colombo and Company.
Justice Jackson has gone further than even the other liberals on the Supreme Court, and that sparked a bit of drama on the left. We'll talk about it Thursday, plus Rep. Justin Sparks and Dr. Randy Toll.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Train is speeding through the midnight
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on Newstalk STL. Jamie Allman here. Happy to be with you on this Thursday in the 3 Martini Lunch, Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here and Ashlyn over there. And I have told you before, I think when we've talked about the federal income tax, and I've always said this, and I think people are entertained by it, but also know it to be true. You need to beware of the do-gooders. You need to beware of the people who think they're doing something really good for everybody, but are really doing something really bad for everybody and don't realize it because they're lazy and sometimes because they want the government to do the job they're apparently incapable of doing. I'll give you an example of this. You know, we have the federal income tax mainly because we had a bunch of old biddies, these little Christian biddies back in the late 1800s who formed a thing called the temperance movement. And the reason why they wanted prohibition in the temperance movement is because they couldn't control their husband's drinking. And maybe because their husband drank because of them. So, whatever. But they couldn't control their husband's drinking, so they wanted the government to control it for them. So they wanted prohibition. So they came up with an idea, and they'd march in the street, and because they were these nice little Christians, you know, everybody thought that their motivation was great because Jesus doesn't want people to drink and blah, 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 blah. Never mind that his mom made wine at a wedding, whatever. Anyway, so we had the temperance movement, and what happened is when all the old Christian biddies were out there complaining about everything and booze and everything else, it was a big enough movement that the federal government started to panic a little bit. So at the time, we were still a real country, like we were still a real republic. We're not anymore, unfortunately, at least in the government, the way the government behaves. So at the time, the federal government, there was no direct taxation by the federal government of income. That's the way the founding fathers intended it. There would be no direct taxation by the federal government. So at that time, the only thing the federal government did was tax vices, tobacco, liquor, things like that, oil, stuff, things like that, commodities and vices. And that's how the federal government made its money. And also by taking a certain portion of the money from a state government. Because at that time, the state governments collected taxes and had the federal government on a diet. So when the federal government realized that the old Christian biddies might actually make some headway and we'd have prohibition, guess what? The federal government saw a possible drying up of one of their biggest moneymakers, which was taxes on vices. As Phil puts it there on the feed, sin taxes. Yeah. Drinking isn't a sin, though, I don't think. I hope not. But anyway, so the federal government was like, yeah, well, what are we going to do? And then some Democrats came up with the idea of creating a federal income tax. By 1898, the Supreme Court took it up and said, this isn't constitutional. And so guess what they did? I know what we'll do. We'll go ahead and see if we can ratify an amendment to the Constitution that calls for a federal income tax. And they kept on talking about it because, hey, if prohibition's coming, we're going to need some way to get money. The federal government's going to need some way to get money. And so we got to figure this out. And the Republicans were like, oh, there's no way that this country would ever approve of a federal income tax. There's not a chance. So a big fat William Howard Taft said, you know what we'll do, though? Let's go ahead and allow it as a possible Constitution amendment that must be ratified by all the states. And then what will happen is if it's not ratified, they'll never talk about federal income taxes again. So we'll just simply call their bluff. Well, guess what happened? Well, you know what happened because you're working 2.5 days of your week for the federal government now to pay federal government income taxes. So the income tax was ratified, which I still actually don't believe it was, but whatever. And it was ratified. And then by that time, the federal government then had a gigantic bowl of money from which to take anything and use it to buy votes and horse trade tax credits and balloon the government and all that other stuff. So then you have a situation where and then guess what happened? We wound up with prohibition anyway. But you know why we wound up with prohibition anyway? Because the federal government didn't need the money anymore and didn't really stand in the way. They're like, well, it's not going to happen. So we don't need the money from the sin taxes anyway because we're taking it from people's paychecks. And so we don't care whether people get whether there's prohibition or not. And it happened anyway. So fast forward to now, and something happened yesterday. Governor Kehoe signs a bill banning cell phones in K through 12 classrooms, presumably because all the do-gooders out there and all the nincompoops thought it would be a good idea to take away the one thing that a kid would need in the event of some kind of catastrophe at the school. All because the cell phones are a distraction or whatever. So I'm going to talk about that on the other side here. And if you guys want to chime in, that's fine too, 314-912-1019. It's a really bad idea. There's a claim that a majority of people want this to happen, but that's because a majority of people, it's human nature to not want to have to do the hard work of, for instance, disciplining your kid, or for that matter, managing your classroom. So they just want the government to do it for them. And in the end, and because I think it's a good thing for kids, well, in the end, it's absolutely dangerous. And I'll lay that argument out on the other side here, plus more of the craziness of the day here. Here and all across the country. It's Common Sense Radio. Happy Thursday to all of you. This is the Allman Report on Newstalk STL and the 3 Martini Lunch.
You hear your name being called, and the whistle starts.
Hey, Newstalk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Nearly a week after deadly floods in Texas killed 120, scores of people are still believed to be missing. Search crews continue to scour miles along the Guadalupe River in hard-hit Kerr County. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Baker says the well-being of first responders is a priority.
We process it the best we can. We have professionals in place, our crisis intervention team. All the agencies have some members representing there.
The search continues for at least 160 people. Also at townhall.com, the Trump administration continues pushing for a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Secretary of State Rubio said the U.S. and Russia exchanged new ideas for Ukraine peace talks after he met with his Russian counterpart. He said they discussed a new and different approach, although he did not elaborate. Rubio said President Trump has been increasingly frustrated with Russia's Vladimir Putin and the ongoing military conflict. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Meanwhile, on the battlefront, it was another night of Russian drone and missile strikes against Ukraine.
President Zelensky said that Russia was stepping up its terror against Ukraine and the civilians, of course. We were woken up in the early hours of this morning by explosions. We could hear the screeching of drones and also the noise of the Ukrainian air defenses. Now, Russia launched about 400 attack drones last night and 18 missiles, and they were primarily targeted at the capital, Kiev.
The BBC's Charlotte Gallagher. The Los Angeles Fire Department says 31 construction workers are safely out of an industrial tunnel that partially collapsed Wednesday evening. The workers were as much as 6 miles inside from the only entrance and 400 feet underground. More at townhall.com.
Hi, Mike Gallagher here. As the summer heats up, so do the bills. If you're like a lot of folks, you're not selling your home anytime soon, but that equity you've built, just sitting there. That's why I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. Love this place. It's in their name, their DNA. They're the team I've used personally, and they treat every client like family. Fellowship Home Loans. They know how to help you tap into your home's value wisely, whether that's a HELOC or a cash-out refi. Fellowship is a direct lender and operates with your best interest in mind. Maybe it's time to finally knock out that renovation, pay off some debt, or just add a little cushion to your retirement account. With rates still reasonable and inflation squeezing all of us, your home might be the smartest financial tool you've got right now. So if you're staying put this summer, make your home work for you. Visit my friends at Fellowship Home Loans, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Sunshine, hot and humid today. No surprise there. Very low rain chance. You could have an isolated shower pop up, but I think we'll be fine. The high temperature today in the lower 90s, about 93, but that heat index up to 97. It's going to be a scorcher at the Cards game this evening, but it will be dry. Tomorrow, even hotter. The high in the mid 90s, the heat index up to about 102. Rain chance increases by Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Grasser Electric for all your electrical needs. If you are a homeowner or a business owner, Grasser Electric can do some real wonders from you. Sometimes it's a big job like rewiring, or you just bought a house and you're pulling knob and tube or whatever it happens to be. Pretty amazing what Grasser will do for you. Shane has been a supporter of free, common sense, conservative radio for a long, long time now. Almost since he started, 2005, for crying out loud, when I started the Common Sense Radio Groove. I started in 2003, but then remastered it in 2005, and there was Shane Grasser to support the show and the program, and I really appreciate him. And now his son's kind of doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, running the place, and so it's really cool. The Grasser family, this is a family-run business, and no job is too big or too small. The pricing is wonderful, and the expertise is amazing. Sean's the guy that usually comes over to my house, and love him, and we always have great conversations, and he always finds the problem right away. And so it's always pretty amazing. I mean, you can stare at it all day long if you want to, or you can have my buddies at Grasser Electric come and resolve it for you. You might have a list of things that you have been developing over the past 3 or 4 months. Just have them do it all in one day, and you can have all the time in the world to write your amazing autobiography, which I know you're doing. So it's great. Just free yourself up and let Grasser take care of it all. Don't forget, too, they have the backup generator, which is a great brand that they're going to be able to install for you. It's very discreet, and it's great for the stormy times that we have in St. Louis. So the backup generator, and also 24-hour emergency service for you. GrasserElectric.com. That's GrasserElectric.com.
This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report
Wait a minute, baby.
on News Talk STL.
Stay with me a while.
It's Common Sense Radio. It's the
Said you give me life.
3 martini lunch.
Told me about the
Well, that's what it is, everybody. It's the second one. Now, I always like to power ahead that second hour, have 2. And you're ready for whatever is coming your way. Jason on the feed is saying, am I a bad parent if I don't let my kids bring a cell phone to school? I'm like, yeah, come on. What do you care, by the way, when I think about about your parenting? You know, I'm not getting up in you. I'm just saying, who cares, you know? If you're a parent, you can make your own decision about that. And if people judge you, you can tell them to go to heck. That's all. I do think, however, the signing of this bill banning cell phones in schools is idiotic. It is dangerous. It is putting children in the crosshairs. It's kind of like, you know, hey, it's a gun-free zone. which of course is all a criminal needs to know, because if you're a criminal and you want to hurt somebody or attack somebody, you see what's happened at the university level, the gun-free zones at TCU and everything else. That just attracts people who don't want anybody to fight back. I mean, it really is that simple. So when people know that Missouri K through 12 schools have a cell phone ban, it makes them all the more susceptible to violence or whatever. We've seen what has happened with the situation with all these school shootings. How many times have you heard in the reports that these kids were able to call the police, or even for that matter, their parents, from their cell phones? And now I understand it is cell phones are a distraction, but they don't have to be if you're a teacher and you manage your class like a leader and with discipline. And say, you pick out a phone here, you use a phone during the class, I'm going to put you in whatever suspension or whatever it is. Why not just have the punishment for using your phone in class, which is the distraction? Why not just have the punishment more severe instead of having the government do it for you? And I know the whole excuse sometimes is like, yeah, but other parents don't discipline their kids. Well, yeah, that's true. But maybe there ought to be consequences for using your cell phone during class or being on it during class, instead of taking the phone away from everybody because some dolt wants to use his phone during class. You know, and this happens a lot, and it's really unfortunate, is that parents, sometimes it's kind of like banning TikTok or kind of like having all these things on social media, on your cell phones, and they always want the government to come in and discipline and monitor their kids for them. And if you don't like TikTok, then don't let your kids on TikTok. Why is it the government's job to... but it's so hard. I've seen people like on Fox News and stuff. They do this all the time. Dana Perino, especially. Well, this is a really good idea. The people like on Fox are always really happy when the government starts to toy around with people's families and things like that and do the jobs for them. And in this case, it's probably a teachers union thing. Because I mean, I most teachers I know I like, and so I'm not just blaming teachers on a blanket level, but if you're supportive of this and you're a teacher, how much have you done in your classroom to manage and discipline kids who are doing on their phones? In the meantime, what this does, and this is Channel 5's report, it's pretty good because they actually did a story about, kind of the polling and the mood of the people and just kind of reported it factually.
Schools K through 12.
The feelings of parents are not all on the same page. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski spoke with a political science professor and a parent about the new law.
Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe signed Senate Bill 68 into law on Wednesday, which is a comprehensive education bill that includes banning the use of cell phones in K through 12 schools. Online and even in hearings at the Capitol, parents have mixed feelings. A St. Louis University YouGov poll took the issue straight to the voters.
We found that across each of these levels of schools, at least 70% of Missouri voters supported such cell phone bans.
Director of the SLU YouGov poll, Stephen Rogers, says there is a growing movement across the country to limit cell phones in schools. 19 states already have a phone ban or restrictions.
I mean, why isn't this done? I'm not arguing with the report here. I'm just saying, why does this have to be legislated? Why can't there just be punishment for hauling out your phone in the middle of class? I mean, if you are in the middle of class and you are singing at the top of your lungs, what happens to you? You get punished for it because you're being disruptive. So why are we asking the government to do the discipline that teachers and parents ought to be doing? I don't really understand this.
According to Common Sense Media, for example, an average student in a school day spends about 43 minutes on their phone. And so this will add up to about 130 hours through a regular school year.
Tracy.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things. And Dave, I mean, come on. He's a get real. The students run the public schools. Well, it doesn't have to be. You just want to give up, right? And have the government step in. Well, teachers aren't teaching the kids and blah, 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 and they've lost control. It's like, well, then regain control. Why is the other step always, well, let's just have the government step in then? That's not conservative. That's giving up. That's folding. That's allowing the government to be your nanny.
Block with the Missouri Disability Empowerment Foundation says she's seen firsthand from her work in schools how distracting phones can be.
The teachers were frustrated. I was frustrated because kids were missing assignments. They were missing instructional time.
Well, they should be punished for that. I mean, there should be consequences for missing assignments. I mean, if you're a teacher, well, they're missing assignments because they're on their phone. Well, then punish them for missing their assignments, and maybe they won't be on their phone. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned constructive consequences for bad behavior? And again, I go back to the fact that just because there are a couple of dunces in a classroom who aren't disciplined by their parents and weak teachers who aren't disciplining their classrooms, why are you then endangering the life of people, of kids who are doing the right thing and have their phone only for possible security and that kind of thing? And I believe me, I'm not going to, Dave's response is just arm the teachers. It's like, you can arm the teachers all you want. I still want my kid to have a damn phone. I'm not going to rely on Mr. Cotter to unload on somebody when my kid, the teachers can be armed all they want, but your kid still needs to have some communication with the outside world available to them. And those kids whose parents want them to have communication with the outside world available to them shouldn't be punished and shouldn't have to have that lack of a sense of security or whatever else just because a couple of dunces are running the show and a couple of incompetent teachers are allowing the show to be run. It's just not a proper answer to what is clearly a problem. But how is it that parents and teachers just throw their arms up and say they can't resolve it? Oh, yeah, they're missing assignments. Like, well, okay, what's the punishment for missing an assignment? What's the punishment for missing an assignment? Like, you're a teacher and you're complaining, oh, my kids are missing assignments because of cell phones. I'll go, okay, so what happens when they miss assignments, Mr. Cotter? What do you do? Well, I mean, to me, I know that back in my day, when you missed assignments, you were punished and your grade went down and everything else. So, missing assignments, they're acting like if kids are missing assignments, it's the fault of the phone or whatever, when actually they're missing assignments because no one's disciplining them. The teachers aren't apparently punishing them for missing assignments, and the parents are doing nothing for missing assignments. So again, I just think that this is a wrong move because I'm telling you, the minute that you let the government in the door the way we do, just for the sake of expediency, just for the sake of kind of getting things out of our hair, it becomes a real problem. Well, Bill Nye, the science guy, is apparently making the rounds now, opining on the Texas floods. But there's something about Bill Nye that you need to know. And you might already know, but this is pretty comical. It's a goat rodeo over there at CNN. And this is the Allman Report on Newstalk STL Common Sense Radio.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Window World. Oh, I love these guys. And you know what? Here's the deal. We're going to I'm going to have a little party with some of the people at Window World. I'm going to put that on the video for you. And you're going to see exactly just the beauty, the pure beauty of these wonderful windows. 314-993-1800. Simply the best for less. These are double paned windows, and these are thermally superior to all the rest. You can get one or a whole house project. It doesn't matter. You get one for whole house, whatever it happens to be. They'll come to your house. They'll take good care of you. Service is numero uno for them, and you can tell that by all their wonderful Google reviews and everything else. It's all about service and all about making sure you're getting the best for less. It's why the window has the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, because of its quality. And it's also why they are being recognized by Qualified Remodeler magazine as the #1 selling window in the United States of America. And that's because people absolutely know how wonderful these windows are, and they're buying them. By the way, buying them isn't impossible for you. You're thinking, oh, these are expensive. No, they even have great financing plans for you. So when I say best for less, I totally mean it. And they're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800. Window World, simply the best for less.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Want to get the most bang for your buck this 4th of July? Monty's Family Fireworks in Troy is your one-stop mom-and-pop shop. We have a wide selection of fantastic fireworks at the best prices in town. Fountains, bottle rockets, cakes, firecrackers, assortments. There's something for everyone, whether you're looking for kid-friendly, adults-only, or anything in between. Monty's Family Fireworks at the corner of 47 and Fairgrounds Road in Troy. You're going to have a blast.
I love the Wallner home selling team so much that I became a member of the Wallner home selling team. 314-810-SOLD. And you can specifically ask for me to help you buy a home or to list your home or whatever. And I got to tell you, it is an amazing, amazing company with Berkshire Hathaway. The Wallner home selling team, top notch in the field of home selling for Berkshire Hathaway. And we've got a really great system, and it's all about integrity, authenticity, service, and not getting you on all these commission rates, everything else, and making sure that we work for you as buyer's agents and work for you as seller's agents. And I'm telling you, Rodney and Jen, I've learned a lot of really, really key secrets to making sure that you're getting the best as a home buyer as well as a home seller. Rodney and Jen are absolutely wonderful people. They are the kind of people who are very supportive of this community. The Angel's Arms is one of Jen's really super pet charities that she loves because it helps foster kids, and she was a foster kid once. The story that Rodney and Jen have to tell about how they were really such a team from the very beginning and built this real estate dynasty together, and they're just a lovely couple, and I learned so much from them as leaders And I'm really proud to be an agent with the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. We'll make a film about a man that's sad and lonely. And all I gotta do is act naturally.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Well, I'll bet you.
This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Tammy Trump was right. I'm loving her comments on here. If it is a she, I can't really tell, but I'm assuming Tammy is. Says, preach it, Jamie. Let me see what it said here real quickly because I lost the. Let's see. Preach it, Jamie. How do you say your kids do not attend public schools without saying your kids do not attend public schools? No, my kids do not attend public schools. And for a reason. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to send them to private schools. And they have their cell phones at their school and always will. And if the school ever banned cell phones, I would pull them out of the school. My kid is going to school with a cell phone, or I'm not paying you anymore. That's how it works. And thankfully, they go to a really excellent private school that values discipline and teachers who instill it. And that's the final word on it. You're like, well, so it's easy for you to gripe about public schools, Allman, because you don't have to deal with all the distractions and all that kind of stuff. It's like, that's nonsense. Stop, again, not you, but these other people, stop throwing up your hands and just saying, well, we can't do anything about it, so we need the government because the teachers aren't doing this and the parents aren't doing that. Well, then do something about it. I mean, we can't. It's like, yeah, you can. Do something about it. I mean, but don't let the government just simply disarm children from the one protection they would have if some nutcase went into the school. That's all I'm saying. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, we don't need to, all argue about it. But I'm just telling you what my opinion is of that. Did you guys know Bill Nye the Science Guy? So, do you know that Bill Nye, when you look up his Wikipedia input, his biography, American science communicator, that's what they call him. You know why they call him that? Because he's not a scientist. That's why. Bill Nye the Science Guy is not a scientist. He is a pretty good mechanical engineer. He invented a thing called the hydraulic resonance suppressor tube. And it was used on 747 airplanes. So, Boeing used some of his stuff. But he might be a mechanical engineer, but he's not a scientist. That's why they have to call him the Science Guy and not Bill Nye the Scientist. And so this guy started out like he left Boeing to become a comedian. He does this science shtick, and I think out in Seattle or something, he sold them on having a show where he would be, wear his bow tie, right? Be the crazy crazy scientist. And, put baking soda in volcanoes and vinegar, right? And do that on TV, on a TV show. And so Bill Nye is not a scientist. He's not a climatologist. He's not a meteorologist. He's not anything but an entertainer and a pretty good mechanical engineer at one point. But that doesn't stop people from, I mean, and even if his credibility is really based on the fact that he was mixing vinegar and baking soda in volcanoes one time on a little kids show in Seattle. So how does this happen where he becomes like a science expert? And all the networks, I mean, during COVID even, this guy isn't a epidemiologist or anything else in the health field. He's not a doctor. I mean, but every time you turn around, these people would all sit there and decide they're going to have Bill Nye, the science guy, on. I mean, if you could imagine like having somebody, I'm trying to think of an analogy, like in sports or something like that, you know, Bill Johnson, the sports guy. It's like, well, you're played sports and you're like, nope. Ever written about sports or anything like that? No. But I'm the sports guy. Like, okay, you're the sports guy. It's just hilarious. I mean, I told you yesterday, or I was talking to Jim Carafano yesterday about collecting stamps and coins, right? So does that mean I can go on TV or something and be Jamie, the stamps and coins guy? I could, right? Because I am a stamp and coin guy, I guess, right? But I'm not an expert on stamp collecting or coin collecting. I can tell you, well, the quarter here is shinier than the other one, and therefore the value is increased, that kind of thing. But this is such a joke. So anyway, he goes on CNN, and the crazy thing about this is that if Bill Nye is not even a scientist and not a weather person, not a climatologist, and you have him on to opine on something as serious as the Texas floods? Oh, that's CNN for you. Oh, Donna, great. I should bring that up. They blinded me with science. Science, 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 science. Come on, Bill, take it away. Let's hear what you have to say about climate change.
You can't just float your way out of it.
Yeah.
It knocks everything over. Everybody knows you pick up a bucket of water, you know how heavy it is.
Oh, listen to this guy. He's explaining to us what a flood is. Oh, you can't pull yourself out of it, it knocks things over. It's like, oh, really, Bill? Tell me more about how rushing water going 50 miles an hour knocks things over. Well, you'll notice here that this water is knocking things over. I don't know whether you know that or not. It's knocking things over. I'm like, yeah, tell us more. Tell us more. I mean, this is so this guy's like such a fake. And he's with Dana Bash, who is not a journalist either. So at least it takes two. Bill Nye's not a scientist, and Dana Bash isn't a journalist. So at least they're two peas in a pod.
You can't just float your way out of it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, really? Thanks, Bill. Yeah, these floodwaters that are going 50 miles an hour, you can't just float your way out of it. Yeah, we know that, Bill. Because almost 200 people are dead. We know that you can't just float your way out of it. And it knocks things over. Yeah, we know that. Because part of those 200 people are dead because a tree or a refrigerator ran over them in the water.
It knocks everything over. Everybody knows you pick up a bucket of water, you know how heavy it is. Mm-hmm. And you get a lot of water going that fast. So
oh yeah. Is that what I have to do, Bill? Here, pick up what is this, like the kids' hour? Pick up this bucket of water here, and you'll see how heavy that water is. It's like, okay, we get it, dude. I mean, this is crazy how this total BS passes for network television on CNN, you pick up a bucket of water.
And you get a lot of water going that fast. So what are we going to do about it?
He doesn't know. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? Well, you try to get people out of there earlier and all kinds of stuff. But by the way, it is a flood and a catastrophic flood. And what are you going to do about it? Well, you're going to have to go back in time and figure out what, if any, mistakes were made, either in forecasting or emergency alerts or whatever it happens to be. And you can do that. But again, because Bill Nye believes, because CNN needs to know, what are we going to do about it? Well, you know what? What are you going to do about tornadoes? What are you going to do about hurricanes? Well, these people, again, beware the do-gooders. These guys, and beware the people who always want to do something about something. What are we going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to be SOL if you're in a flood like that again. So the key is keeping you out of it. That's probably it, The key is going to be keeping you out of it.
The question, and it would be to stop burning fossil fuels.
Really? So Bill Nye, the science guy, who's not a scientist, is saying that we got to stop burning fossil fuels. And if we stop burning fossil fuels, then we won't have floods like that again. And these guys say we're anti-science? You got to be kidding me. I mean, that guy, if somebody said that to you on the street, you would think they were some kind of drunk hobo who knows nothing about what is going on.
Hole, stop digging, and so on. But the fossil fuel industry has been very successful in getting organizations like the U.S. Congress.
This guy is so full of crap. This guy is, I don't know how he has gone as far as he has gone with his flim-flammery. It's pretty unbelievable. I guess to a certain degree, I have to admire this guy because he is such a con man. And he actually he's gotten all these news organizations to believe that he knows something about science when he doesn't know anything about science. He knows nothing about science. He's a mechanical engineer. And again, pretty good one because he did something that's now on 747s, whatever, we went for Boeing. But that's it. Even the biography for him on Wikipedia, they call him a science communicator. Like, what is that? Let me ask you this. If you had to hear a forecast from a person who is a weather communicator, what would you think about the credibility of that person's forecast? You heard Kent Earhart on here earlier talking about the heat and everything else, right? Well, Kent Earhart didn't say, hey, I'm weather communicator Kent Earhart. No, he didn't say that, did he? He said, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart. That's because he's a meteorologist. And by the way, that's hard, too. Never been in college. I was like, I'm just going to take this meteorology class. Thought it was a thumbsucker, Because I grew up watching Ollie Raman and all these other weather guys just simply put a bunch of Velcro clouds and suns up on a board up there and tell us about rain and sun. They were just guys, So I thought, well, this how hard could this be having a meteorology class? Ooh, Lordy, I got a D in it because I couldn't. First of all, it was all math and all these calculations and all these. I had to learn what an adiabat was. I used to have to calculate barometric pressure and all this kind of stuff. I'm like going, you got to be out of your mind. This is crazy. And there's a lot more to it. I still don't know what an adiabat is, but because at that point I was lost and I was like, oh man, I was like, and I thought I was going to thumb suck my way through this baby. And little did I know that meteorology is science and it's math. And when you are a meteorologist, that's a pretty big deal. When you're a weather communicator, you're Ollie Raman putting up Velcro clouds. That's a weather communicator. And so when you are a science communicator with your dumb little bow tie on, you're nothing more than just a clown who CNN has on here and everything else to just kind of like blather on. I mean, this is like really total nonsense. And I'm wondering whether even CNN viewers are like, well, and so, water just keeps rushing down. It's really fast and it knocks things over. And the only thing we're going to be able to do about it is just stop burning fossil fuels. It's like most people watching, they're going, I'm sorry, what did he just say? I mean, listen to this guy. I'm going to just play it over again so you can get the whole train of things so I don't keep interrupting it.
You can't just float your way out of it.
Yeah.
It knocks everything over. Everybody knows you pick up a bucket of water, you know how heavy it is. And you get a lot of water going down.
Sorry, I got to interrupt this again. Listen to this guy explaining a flood. He's acting as if we don't know what you know what a flood is, right? Well, a flood is water that moves very fast and tends to knock things over. Well, let me explain it even more to you. If you just had a bucket of water and you see how heavy that is, that's a flood. I'm like, oh, thanks for telling us, Bill. Listen, this sounds like me being asked a question about something and me completely trying to act like I know something about it. Like, Jamie, what's a flood? Well, a flood is when water moves really fast. It'll knock things over. You can't just float your way out of it. And, it sounds like, one of those questions where you just BS your way through because you don't know anything.
You can't just float your way out of it.
Yeah.
It knocks everything over. Everybody knows you pick up a bucket of water.
Knocks everything over. Really, Bill? What about it knocking everything over? Where'd you learn that? I mean, how brilliant do you have to be to really understand that fast-moving water knocks things over? Yes, I will say in my own scientific opinion that water moving very fast tends to knock things over. Oh, really? Maybe you can just float out of it. No, you cannot. Based on my scientific knowledge of floods, you cannot just float your way out of it. Take, for instance, Jamie, this bucket of water. I'll fill it with water and hand it to you, and you can see how heavy it is. Well, that's how heavy it is. I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with the flood? I got a bucket of water. I'm just making stuff up. And you know what? The best answer to that is stop putting gas in your car.
You know how heavy it is. And you get a lot of water going that fast. So what are we going to do about it is the ancient question, and it would be to stop burning fossil fuels. When you're in a hole, stop digging. And so on.
When you're in a hole, stop digging, Bill Nye, the science guy.
Fossil fuel industry has been very successful in getting organizations like the U.S. Congress to think that it's really not happening.
Well, and the first 6 months of the Trump administration, we've seen an end.
And here's fake journalist Dana Bash talking to fake scientist Bill Nye about how the flood, since it's the fault of fossil fuels, then also must be the fault of Donald Trump, who doesn't want to do anything to disrupt fossil fuel usage in the USA.
To some of the federal efforts on not just fossil fuel, but other efforts.
These people are, can you tell that? I mean, how is anybody still watching this as these two brain dead ninnies sit there and riff on stuff they know nothing about? It's really. This is CNN. We're going to put you in the movie.
Well, I'll bet you.
Yes. CNN. Dana and Bill Nye, the science guy, should get married and not really get married. Like a fake marriage, because that'd be perfect. You are in the throes of the 3 Martini Lunch, people. This is Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here. Happy to be with you. News Talk STL.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stewart's American Mortgage. I love these guys. Jordan and Stewie, they're great guys, and they're really fabulous because I know every time as a real estate agent, when I need to get pre-approval for one of my buyers, or I need to make sure they're not getting bent over on loan costs or lender fees and all these other nonsensical fees that people charge, I can always make sure that I connect them to Jordan, who usually is the guy I talk to all the time. All you have to do is Google the bagel loan, and you'll see the ways to get to them, number-wise and everything else. And just tell them Allman sent you, and get set up not only with pre-approval. If I'm not giving it to you, they'll do it for you. So when you go out to buy a home or whatever it is with pre-approval, it's great because you can just go ahead and lay down that contract, and you've got pre-approval already, and you're in, and that's perfect. Lowest rates you're going to find, zero closing costs practically, and they can do that because of the volumes of loans they do. And also, when it comes to all the other wonderful things like debt consolidation, or maybe you're in a situation where you want to refi, they can do that for you. You're like, refi now because the rates are so darn high. No. Don't worry about it. They can still get you in. Rates are going to be lowering a little later on, but they can manufacture a great scenario for you where you're not spending a whole lot of money and you're getting a ton of money for you in your hands, thanks to Stewart's American Mortgage, stewartsamc.com, or you can Google the bagel loan.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountrystore.com.
JC's Wayback Machine.
Great forgotten songs from the 90s, 80s, and 70s, and our A-list interview with Roger Daltrey on the 28th anniversary of The Who performing Quadrophenia out of Riverport. Plus Beatles, Motown, and the Great Disco Debate, a great chapter in American music history, or pure evil. Saturday night, 6 till 9, brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9, on News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Gemini Wealth Group and my buddy Jeff Portman ready to rock for you. 314-888-0123 would be Jeff's direct line, or the GeminiWealthGroup.com. And here's the situation. They're going to be able to help you no matter what your situation is. If you are newly retired and you're not quite sure, maybe you're working with somebody, but you're not quite sure whether things are working out, and you want that extra opinion, that second opinion, and more confidence, then the Gemini Wealth Group can do that for you. They also, if you're about to retire, get you set up, make sure everything's going all right. Even if you're 5 years out of retiring, you still need to make a plan. You need to make a plan to make sure you're not doing any kind of short-term thinking. Want to make sure that you're doing proper diversification, which is super important for you as we head into the future, making sure you're making the proper contributions, everything else. And if you just about to retire now and you maybe didn't do that, they can always correct some of the typical mistakes people make while they are saving up for retirement. The truth of the matter is you're going to be living 20, 30, even 40 years past retirement. You want to make sure that's all great for you and that you are not scraping the bottom of the barrel or checking the car ashtray for pennies because you didn't plan properly. The Gemini Wealth Group will absolutely take care of that for you. The GeminiWealthGroup.com, or you can call Jeff Portman directly at 314-888-0123.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
ICE agents continue doing their job, but it's getting more and more dangerous, and leftists are responsible.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
And a whole hee-haw gang. This is one of my favorite shows as a kid. Hee Haw was absolutely just the best. And earlier I was playing Buck Owens. And the best part about Hee Haw, this was so brilliant of a move for Hee Haw.
Buck Owens and Roy Clark.
So they were so brilliant in connecting Roy Clark and Buck Owens because it was so brilliant. So Buck Owens was from Bakersfield, California, and in country music there's a thing called the Bakersfield sound. And the Bakersfield sound was a little more jazzier, I shouldn't say jazzier, but it was a little more glittery. A rhinestone cowboy-y, and Buck Owens had more of an electric guitar, and they wore these fancy suits all the time and these, fancy shoes and everything else. And the Bakersfield sound was a little more of a poppy type of country, but it's really good. So Buck Owens was known as being a master of the Bakersfield sound. And a lot of guitar, everything else, and a lot of rhythmic guitar. Roy Clark, on the other hand, was the guy who was the Nashville sound. And Roy Clark was more of the twangy and acoustic guitar, twang type of stuff. And both had different styles of singing and everything else. But when you're doing a show that is like a country show, you basically want to make sure that you're bringing two of the orbits of country music together. And that was really so brilliant to have Roy Clark and Buck Owens together as hosts of the show. It was a fun show. I remember watching this because my parents had always, it was Saturday night, and it was like about 6 o'clock or something, right before my parents went out, on the town or whatever. I was always sitting up in their bed watching Hee Haw while they were all getting ready to go out. And I just remember those stories. I think it was Saturday night at like 6 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, and would sit there and watch it. So great memories of watching Hee Haw, a good one. All right, listen to this. So Bill Malugin at Fox News is really a great guy. He's a great reporter. And Malugin, who has covered the border so well, he never misses a chance to check and fact check other people in the media regarding border stories and stories on ICE and illegal immigration and everything else. So Bill Malugin, there was a story out there, and it came from an operation called the Inquirer. I think it's the National Enquirer. This is kind of like a variation of the Maryland Man one, So, this rapey, terrible, wife-beating dude, they called Maryland Man, a Maryland Man, instead of calling him what he is, illegal alien and everything else. Just called him a Maryland Man, Maryland father, whatever. So there's a story running around and regurgitated, of course, by the mainstream media, because what happens is they, like I told you before, the way it operates is one news organization might do a story, and then if it's attractive to all the other news organizations, they'll pick it up and just simply quote the other news organization. So The headline on this one is Cincinnati Children's Chaplain detained by ICE. And this is a story that was in this publication. And former Cincinnati Children's Hospital chaplain Amyan Solomon was detained by ICE after his asylum status was revoked. Supporters describe Solomon as a valuable member of the hospital community, providing multilingual support for families and colleagues. And of course, when they say supporters say, they don't quote any detractors, right? Well, Bill Melugin decides he's going to go on X and point out some things that are missing from the story about the Children's Hospital chaplain being arrested by ICE. And Bill Melugin says, not included in the headline of this story, he's an Egyptian national whose asylum status was revoked during the Biden administration last year. He apparently flagged on the FBI terror watch list during a background check, though he claims the fingerprints didn't match his. Sued the feds multiple times. Judge dismissed most of his claims. One lawsuit still pending. Met with ICE and the FBI for several hours yesterday before being arrested by ICE. So when I said the Inquirer, that actually was the Cincinnati Inquirer. A newspaper like the Post-Dispatch, like it's a daily newspaper in Cincinnati. And this is just such a great example of how the news media keeps putting together all these wishful thinking stories on these people and then just simply inventing this idea that somehow they're just a bunch of plush puppies and everything else. And the reality is plush toys. And the reality is they're not. And the media just believes, well, what I'll do is we'll just not report on all the bad stuff about these people. We won't report on the reality of it. We'll just reimagine our own reality over this whole thing and let the story fly. Because we hate ICE. We hate Trump. We hate border control. And we love illegal aliens. And so we're just going to create a story around how terrible all these people are who are going against what we believe. And this is another example. And so I'm so glad. And Melugin really is good. He's the Fox News guy, right? I know you guys know that. And the border reporter. And he's really good at what he does and has been telling the truth that most of the media has ignored for a long, long time. Melugin was the one who was standing at the border where the other reporters would not go. He was doing the job other American reporters didn't want to do. And he'd show us the thousands and thousands of people coming across the border every single day. So he's definitely a servant, that is for sure. So anyway, I'm going to open the door here and start to leave. Appreciate you guys so much. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Ashlyn, thank you so much. Coming up next, the great Tony Colombo and Colombo and Company. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening to News Talk STL 101.9 and 94.1. Have a good one, everybody.
Talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
101.9 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Replacing